Hi everyone, CAT 2022 is done and dusted, right? By now you would have seen quite a lot of videos which would have told you like what is a good score in the quant section to get a 99 percentile, what is it in VAI and what is it in like LRDI, and like you would have got a lot of information about it. Let's keep all of that aside for a moment and look at now that it's done and dusted. You can't do much about what happened in CAT 2022. What you should be doing in the next 4 months, right? December, January, February, March, that could make a significant difference to what business school you join and whether you start your MBA in 2023. I basically plotted this in a 4 scenario basis on a diagram which basically tells us what is the effort that went into preparing for this CAT and what is the likely score someone could get. If someone got that score, what scenarios exist and how you should basically capitalize, right, leverage on the preparation that's gone into CAT. Let's take a look at this. Let's see what all the scenarios are there, right? This x-axis is the effort that you put into the CAT preparation. Y-axis is the score that you may get, right? I'm not saying this is the score you're going to get. I'm not going to tell you about number of questions that you should have got, right? We're looking at scenarios. Start with the first thing, right? Essentially, the effort is low, but the return is high. You get a 99.5 percentile. You really did not do much to do for CAT preparation. One of the two things would have happened for you if this is the outcome that you get, right? You're essentially a natural. There are people like this, we know it, right? They just play TT the day before the examination, walk into the examination and crack it, right? For some people, essentially because the way they studied, they probably would have read novels when they were 3 years old and would have done mental calculations when they were 5.5 years old, right? So they essentially tuned to cracking such an examination. If you're one of those naturals, the effort that went into is little and you'll get a very good score. The alternative is CAT day happened to be your day that you ended up being lucky that you got that score. So this is one category. The second category is the most likely one, right? People put in a lot of effort, get a good score, right? You prepared for a year, you prepared for 8 months, you took 40 mocks, you went through all possible mock analysis, you watched videos and everything, and you ended up with a 99.5 plus percentile, right? High effort, high percentile. This is a typical hard worker kind of a profile, right? This could be a scenario. Why am I mapping this? This will tell us what all you could do going forward, right? Just keep this in mind. The third is this. You did not do much effort, you did not get much out of it too, right? Probably got a 80th percentile or lower than that. You invested probably a month or month and a half into CAT preparation, took 2-3 mocks before it and wrote it, and you essentially said that, hey, I'm a prospector for 2023 CAT. I just want to know how this CAT examination is all about. There are people who say, take the real CAT, which is when you'll get a feel for it. I took it for that reason, right? So you're a 2024 MBA aspirant, 2023 CAT prospector. And this is probably the place where it hurts the most. You invested a lot of time. You prepared for 8 to 12 months. You took 40 plus mocks. Everything went well for you even during the mocks. But on the CAT day, things did not work out, right? It happens. In CAT is one day examination. It happens to us in many, many scenarios that the percentile was not what you expected. It could be in the upper 80s. You know that upper 80s are not the score which are going to get you into the black eye colleges. So this is the place where you are. It's a CAT day disaster. Sometimes we don't have control. It's bad, but that's reality. Let's see how we can make good effort of these things, right? So these are the 4 possible scenarios. You're a natural or a lucky person, put in a lot of effort and you got returns for it. That's a very lovely scenario to be in. You feel kind of vindicated for the effort that went into it. You are essentially exploring. So good. You've done a good job of trying it out for 2023. And this is the place where it hurts. Let's look at how we can make justice to it, right? Move on, let's look at likely outcomes that could happen. If you are in this quarter, you got a 99.5 percentile, you're a natural, you do things well, you've read a lot, you probably have you've got to be preparing for the interviews. This is a lovely scenario to be in, getting one of these top 6 IIMs, right? A, B, C, L, I, K, right? That's a lovely thing. You get into FMS, IITs, CAPS. This is second possible scenario. The third is the next rung business school. It could be any of these things. Why I'm saying all of this is that because you have a 99.5 percentile, all of us know, you need not necessarily get calls for the subsequent round of interviews and like VAT and everything from all of these places. Even with a 99.9, you're probably not sure because they have various parameters which determine who gets a call for the second round. And even after that, your interview should go very well, your WAT should go very well, and all of this plus your academic record, your number of years of experience, multiple parameters result in an admit. So a CAT score is a very important component. It's a necessary condition, not a sufficient one. So you could have got it, you would have been good at all of these things. Something that did not go well for you when you were in your 12th standard or in your 10th standard. Some grades there could come in the way that you're not going to get a college of your choice, right? So it may not be the top IIMs, it could be, may not even be the FMS, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. It could be one of those CAP colleges. CAP institutions are good. but it's a function of what you aspire to, right? If you wanted with a 99.8 percentile, and rightly so, that you wanted to get into the top 6 IIMs, and you ended up with one of those cap colleges, you probably will say, no, this is not what I want to do, right? So the same thing could happen to someone here, right? You got calls from all of these places because, notwithstanding the fact that you put in so much effort, you got that percentile, so you're going to get the same calls, irrespective of how much effort you put into it. No one is going to know. The 99.5 plus percentile, these two people are going to have, because of their high percentile, similar kind of outcomes. The outcome in a good scenario could be a top 6 IIM admit, FMS admit, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi kind of an admit. Otherwise, it could be the next rung of schools. The next rung of schools, you probably will be wondering, with this percentile, should I be taking up this? Are there better alternatives available to me? That's what we are trying to explore, right? People in this, essentially, if you managed even for this 1 month effort and 3-4 mocks effort in 80 plus percentile, and you get into tier 2 colleges, you might say, hey, I just want to get into an IIM, I want to get into a business school this year itself and do my MBA as quickly as possible. This is a scenario which is there, not a bad scenario, but with 1 month of effort, if you could get into a tier 2 school, I think is invest a little more time, work a little hard, check out if you can get into one of the top colleges, because where you do your MBA makes a significant difference. It's not when you do your MBA. If you postpone your MBA by 1 year, it's not going to be such a big earth-shattering thing. Whereas if you do it from a school, which is, let's say, a 25th rank school to a 3rd rank school, that could mean the kind of doors that it opens is very, very different. So if I were you, if I didn't invest so much time into CAT preparation and I still managed an admit, go through the application, the entire second round process. If you get a call for an interview, go and attend the interview, see whether you're able to convert it. Do it as if you want that admission this year. And then you can decide, probably will not take it. With this little effort, I could manage this. Let me invest more effort and get something better next year is the idea I would have. These are the guys, probably with a lower percentile, right? Yeah, high 80s, a low 90s, might get into the newer IIMs, could get into the tier 2 colleges. Sometimes there might be frustration. This might be your 3rd attempt in CAT, and you'll be wondering, 3 बार तो हो गया यार, इसके बाद should I put in any more effort into this? You have done a lot of hard work. Don't let that go to waste, right? You might probably say, I still deserve the best. I have the capability to get into a better school. If that is your feeling, I think you should hold out. You should not sign up for a tier 2 school this year if you have invested so much effort into it. Now let's look at what is there, right? Leverage this CAT preparation, right? Especially people in these 2 quadrants, right? You've put in a lot of effort into it. You still are not sure what your outcome is. Here you know you're probably not going to get into the best of the colleges that you wanted to get in. In either case, leverage your CAT preparation, right? Recalibrate it. Put in a little more effort. It could be anything from as low as 30 days of investment to about 2 to 3 months of investment for people in these 3 quadrants, right? To get a better college, to look at more prospects. Essentially, convert this into a GMAT preparation. Take the GMAT. Let's check out what is there. Why should you be taking the GMAT after a CAT preparation? Typically, we hear that GMAT, you go abroad and study. It costs you upwards of ₹1 crore to do this education. Yes, that is true to the extent that that's a listed price tag, right? You go to Amazon and try and buy something, they'll say the price tag of something is 1499 rupees, right? And then they'll give you a 70% discount and they'll give it to you at probably 450 rupees, right? So 1500 rupees is some place which is a tag and 450 rupees is actually what you end up buying. A similar scenario happens there. In what form? You could get scholarships, you could get tuition fee waivers. What would make that happen? Let's look at that, right? Why should you try and take a GMAT leveraging your CAT preparation? 60% of what you are prepared for CAT is just, you can take it, transplant it, use it as is in the GMAT preparation. Yes, this 40% which is different, verbal is significantly different. That's where the significant difference of 40% comes in. Quant, whatever you are prepared in terms of concepts, the number of tests you have done, the number of questions you have solved, all of that is something that you can port into GMAT preparation. The only difference that you probably have to do is that get yourself recalibrated with the same concept into answering a different type of question. Data sufficiency is something which accounts for 40% of the GMAT quant. So if you can recalibrate, if you solve a lot more DS questions, you are like essentially exam ready as far as the quant goes. The biggest investment that you're going to be making is primarily in the form of the verbal. Verbal again, 1/3 of verbal and GMAT is reading comprehension. More than half of CAT verbal is reading comprehension. So reading comprehension is something that you would have done justice as part of your CAT preparation. Work on critical reasoning, work on sentence correction. That's the time that we're going to be investing subsequently to essentially get that good score as far as the GMAT goes. So 60% commonality is there. So it will be as in stupid of us to not leverage what you have invested for 60% and get one more exam score. What could that lead to? That basically has one very, very sweet thing. A CAT score at the end of the day, 99.9 percentile you got this year. You cannot say I'm a 99.9 percentile in CAT and try and get an admit in 2024 with a 2022 CAT. That's not going to happen. The 2022 CAT is valid only for admissions in 2023, whereas the GMAT score is valid for 5 years. So you leverage your preparation, take the GMAT sometime soon enough so that you don't forget what you have learned. The practice that you have done has not gone for waste. And then you can say, hey, let me check out what happens with these IIM admissions this year. What happens if I want to try it one more year? Let me take CAT 2023 and then decide whether I want to go for it or not. If CAT 2023 also does not go the way you expect it to, then you can say, I'll apply in 2024. This score is valid for 5 years. Just look at the calendar. If you take the GMAT by 2023 February, you can get into a business school anywhere in the world up till 2028. This score is valid for 5 years. That's the beauty about it. The more options, obviously, a lot of Indian business schools these days for their flagship programs accept the GMAT score. You have a lot more geographies that open up in terms of doing an MBA. And you have a larger window. Options come in multiple forms, right? Essentially more schools in India, more geographies where you can apply, and more time window. It's not that you took the examination on the 27th of November and that score is valid only for this year's application. This score is applicable for 5 full years. You could even do an MBA from a tier 2 school this year, and 3-4 years down the line, you could basically look at, I will do a second MBA. There are people who have done that. So the GMAT provides you much more options of this kind. And more importantly, as I told you, the ROI is really good. If you get a GMAT score upward of 720, right, if you are the typical profile, right, male, Indian, IT, engineer kind of a person, even for such a person, a 720 plus GMAT score could get you some kind of tuition fee waiver in the 25th to the 50th ranked business school in the US. There have been a lot of our students who have managed that. If you have a score upward of 750, you can shoot for a lot better schools in terms of ranking, and you can also look at even 100% tuition fee waiver. A 720, 750, how difficult is it? If you had been in the 95th or the 96th percentile in CAT, right, you've actually done a lot of justice in terms of preparation. Essentially, that gives you the feeling, the indication that you're already good enough to cross that 680, 690 in the GMAT. Tune it a little more effort into the verbal section, few more mocks, getting yourself reoriented to the fact that skipping a question, as we typically advise people to do it in CAT, is not something that you should be doing in the GMAT. All questions need to be answered, and you will be able to answer. Pushing it to a 740 from a 95th, 96th percentile in CAT, right? CAT 95, 96 to a GMAT 740 is a little bit of work, but it is not building a ship from scratch, right? You have most of it with you. You're just going to do some tinkering work and like essentially fine tuning it, honing it, that you are able to get that 740. For those of you in the 95, 96 percentile, I think a 740 is well within your reach with an effort that goes into it. A 740 in the top 50 business schools in the US will get you some kind of tuition fee waiver. And look at it, today the Indian business schools are not inexpensive. We're talking about anything upward of 25 lakhs to complete a 2-year program. In the IIMs, if you go to the ISB, it's upward of 40 lakhs of rupees. So give or take, we are talking anything from $30,000 all the way up to it's probably $60,000 depending upon which school you join in India, right? I'm converting it into dollar terms. A 2-year education in the US, if you get 50% tuition fee waiver, is going to cost you about $80,000. It's not much more than that, including living expenses. And you also do your summer internship where they pay you upward of $1,500 a week for a 10-week assignment. That's $15,000 between the first year and second year or during your summer internship. Subtract that from that $80,000, it comes to $65,000. The price tag is not too very different, And for $65,000 that you invest, right, and you get loans to do that in US, not necessarily in India, you get it in the US itself. So the interest rates are far more juicier there. You start with a job which could probably give you $105,000 plus. So in about 6 months of your gross pay, you will be able to recover the investment that goes into your MBA. So ROI is very, very good. If you're in the 95, 96 percentile, you're not getting into good colleges this year, I think you should leverage, get a GMAT score. If you still want, try it one more year and the next year apply it to US. With a 740, you're likely to get a lot better ROI. The money that you get by doing an MBA outside India, especially in the US with some scholarship thrown in, that ROI beats most of the other things that you can look at in India hollow, right? Let's look at what needs to be done in terms of timeline and preparation. Again, I'm going to resort to this quadrant that we are doing. Hey, you're a natural, you're doing very well. You probably need to fine tune in few areas, right? Get equipped to transferring your quant knowledge into solving data sufficiency. Do hard work as far as sentence correction and critical reasoning go, and polish your reading comprehension. Take 6 to 8 mocks, right? Essentially a self-paced program, online program with 30 days investment would essentially top you up with the CAT preparation to take the GMAT and get a 740 plus score. I'm talking about something as early as like end December, first week of January, you will land up with this. If you invest 3 to 4 hours between now and then, it's worth it because you've already done justice to your CAT, right? You do not know your score, right? But you'll get a feeling that, hey, I'm there in that particular range. But even if you're not there, even before your CAT scores are in, right? Typically on the first Saturday of January, even before that, you might have taken the GMAT and you might have a 740 in your hand. If you're in this quadrant, you need a little more. You're one of those hardworking guys. Leave the naturals out, right? Not much more, probably another 15 more days. 30 days to 45 days. Second week of January, 15th of January, you should be ready to take the GMAT if you invest about 3 to 4 hours a day. All that you need to do is pick a self-paced program, focus on the areas that I mentioned for these quadrant guys, right? Essentially data sufficiency, sentence correction, reading comprehension, take mocks. IR, once you have done LRDA for CAT, is a lot easier. Yes, it's slightly different, it tests a little different, but the LRDA and CAT these days is like amped up so much that whoever has put an effort into it will not have too much difficulty in getting acclimatized to the IR of GMAT, right? So essentially 30 to 45 days, 720 plus is something in your hand. We'll also look at when you can look at admissions process with these two. Hey, you guys, right, you've not done enough justice to your CAT preparation. My thing is get started with the GMAT preparation right away. Get your GMAT out of your way by May of next year. We are talking about anything from 4 to 6 months of preparation. Again, because 60% of what you are preparing is common, if you do justice to your GMAT, right, the quant component to a large extent, verbal absolutely, and a little bit of LRDA is covered. Take the GMAT, have a score, have something like a 740 by the month of May or June of this year. That you give yourself adequate time, another 4 months, to essentially leverage on what you did for the GMAT and convert that into a CAT preparation. You probably need to invest time in topics which are not covered in the GMAT quant, things like logarithms, binomial, and tougher variants of questions that appear from other topics. Take a lot of mock CATs and also do justice to your LRDA. So that's 4 months available to you. 6th month you take your GMAT, have your score, you have a 740 plus. That itself gives you that confidence, your morale is high. You know that like, come what may, I have some business school which I can go to. Now let me go and nail this CAT this year is the kind of feeling that you can go with. So if you're here, you haven't done much justice, I would say get started. But what you would probably need is a lot more intensive preparation. Go with a live online class, take the test in the month of May, June, and write your GMAT, have a 740 plus. If you're in this quadrant, right, all the effort that's gone into it is not gone for waste, right? The investment of effort is definitely, certainly going to help you. Top it up with 2 to 3 months of preparation, right? You're one of those guys who believes in hard work, does a lot of good work. So invest time, essentially make sure that this time the GMAT that you're going to take is going to land you with something upward of 720. Set a target of 750. I've said 720 plus. So if that 750 does not fructify, it should at least be a 720. 2 to 3 months, you probably also require a live online class just to be absolutely sure that there is no exam day disaster that happens, right? So this is the timeline and the kind of preparation you should look at. People in this quadrant should probably look at a live online class. People in this quadrant should look at essentially a self-paced preparation. What admission calendars can you look at? If you're in this quadrant, you can catch this year. You can catch round 2 deadlines because you'll be taking your GMAT by end December, which means by January round 2 deadlines, you can apply to get into business schools in 2023 September, right? The college starts in July, August. In US, it starts in August, September. So you'll catch this year's admission. You don't have to wait. You can catch all of Europe 2023 and you'll also catch Asia 2023. Almost practically all business schools are available to you. You can apply to even ISB because you have the last window available at that point in time, right? Same holds good for you, but not all are too, because in this quadrant, we are looking at least 45 days of preparation. So we thought of a January 15th kind of in GMAT, which essentially means you'll be able to catch R2 deadlines, round 2 deadlines for US schools, which fall in the second half of January. Few schools out of your way, that's the only thing. Otherwise, you'll be able to catch everything. We are looking at 2024, right? We are not in a hurry. We are looking at 2024, so do justice to it. You guys, again, Asia 2023 is definitely possible. You'll be able to catch early admissions for the next year. But you know that you got a good GMAT score. Grab an early admission, right? You'll get an admission for 2024 in the US with probably some scholarships thrown in, even before you take the 2023 CAT attempt. That's a good place to be in, right? I know I got a 33rd rank school, I got a 22nd rank school, I got 80% tuition fee waiver, I got a 60% tuition fee waiver. I am going to give a shot once more at CAT, just so that like, I did not nail it earlier. I want to do justice to it this time. Let me see if I can do justice to it. It's purely for that feeling. And then you can always decide, get into one of the top colleges, Black Eye in India, and you got one of the schools there. You can say, hey, I'm looking at a predominantly Indian-oriented career, so why should I go abroad? I want an international career. So even though I got this top schools, going to US would probably make sense because I want to probably work in the Silicon Valley, I want to work in Wall Street, this is my dream, and this is a path to achieving it. So all of those happen to you. So how do you go about it? How can Wizako help you? Wizako basically has live online classes for the GMAT. We start a batch every 4 weeks. You can check out our website gmat.wizako.com. We also have one of the most comprehensive self-paced course. Right? If you'd been a part of the 2IM cohort, you would know that how intensive our entire course structure is. These two products have been like conceived with the same idea as to making it comprehensive, being intensive, and making sure that you're not found wanting on the day of the examination, right? Check us out this, and if you have any queries, anything, you can reach out to us. Best wishes, make the best out of these 4 months, and convert whatever effort you've invested into the CAT for 2022 translates into something very meaningful going forward.